The second condition for personal evolution is overcoming ego barriers. So-called ego barriers mean that most people, due to their ego, worry about being attacked, reject criticism, and fear others pointing out their flaws. Dalio believes that this defensive emotional reaction counteracts the desire for evolution and holds us back. Dalio himself wasn't a born thinker either. He too, through embracing reality, experienced painful trials time and again, which led to his continuous evolution. During the early days of Bridgewater Associates, Dalio discovered a new way to observe the commodity market. Based on this unique skill, Dalio developed a trading model on a computer. At first, Bridgewater won several trades, which boosted Dalio's confidence. He started increasing bets, and finally, in a large trade, the trading model failed, causing huge losses for clients. Dalio's personal savings of $100,000 were completely wiped out. This loss made Dalio realize the dangers of blind arrogance and that in the face of complex markets, personal wisdom is nothing. In 1982, Dalio faced the most painful failure of his life. That August, the Mexican government declared debt default, which caused a massive shock to the U.S. financial industry. The Federal Reserve greatly increased money supply to save the market. Dalio, based on his study of past financial markets, believed that the Fed printing more dollars wouldn't help, and after a brief rally, the stock market would face a long bear market, so he bet on shorting the market. However, with the Fed's help, the market weathered the Mexican debt crisis. The U.S. stock market entered a long bull run, while Bridgewater suffered heavy losses and couldn't even pay salaries. The company was left with only Dalio alone. In the pain of failure, Dalio recognized the truth. The world is constantly changing. The historical cases studied by the Bridgewater team couldn't explain today's reality. His own cognitive blind spots led to the company's massive losses. Dalio discovered his own flaws, constantly emptied his mind, and achieved evolution. He led Bridgewater to no longer obsess over predicting market ups and downs, but instead use various investment portfolios to help investors avoid risks and achieve stable returns. Among Dalio's principles on evolution, there's another point that's quite original. He divides the same matter into first order, second order, and third order effects. For example, with fitness, the first order effect is consuming time and causing muscle soreness. That's the surface outcome. The second order effect is achieving a fit physique. The third order effect is maintaining normal metabolism and cultivating a more positive mindset. Both second and third order effects belong to deep level outcomes. The most common mistake is failing to distinguish these effect levels, conflating short-term gratification with long-term objectives. Like indulging in momentary cravings by overeating junk food like fries and fried chicken, resulting in obesity, hypertension, and diabetes. Successful evolvers habitually view things through third-order effects, actively restraining immediate desires to pursue long-term goals. All right, that concludes the second part. We've outlined Dalio's self-management principles through embracing reality and personal evolution. Next, in part 3, we'll explore Dalio's corporate governance principles. It contains 16 high-level principles, each comprising several mid-level principles. Some mid-level principles further include sub-principles, like the fourth high-level principle in management, seeking consensus and adhering to it. This includes 7 mid-level principles, such as the second, knowing how to seek and master consensus, which further contains 3 sub-principles, with Dalio providing annotations and even diagrams for each level. I'll now interpret Dalio's corporate governance principles through 3 lenses: company culture, talent selection, and decision-making models. First, company culture. Dalio advocates an extreme truth, extreme transparency culture, pushing Western directness to its limits. Walking into Bridgewater, you'd witness astonishing scenes, like newly trained interns bluntly challenging superiors in meetings, or how all level meetings are recorded, making small group discussions company-wide knowledge. Every employee judgment and suggestion is documented for future market comparison, embodying Dalio's cherished conflict culture and radical transparency. He deeply understood that research-oriented fund companies must ensure absolute freedom of expression and unimpeded information flow to produce original results. Dolly first demanded employees maintain an extremely open mindset. He was upright himself and required the same from others. He fostered an environment where people speak face to face, avoid behind the back comments, everyone has right to know, and criticism can't be hidden. Then Dalio designed comprehensive error tolerance and communication systems to ensure truth prevails throughout the company, free from misinformation. Dalio's principles on error tolerance are particularly distinctive. He required management to judge employees not as right or wrong, but only as accurate or inaccurate. This prevented employees from fearing mistakes and hesitating to voice opinions, even when proven wrong later. As long as you genuinely think through and provide precise analysis, Bridgewater still recognizes your effort. Dalio didn't just pay lip service to radical transparency. Dalio had a highly admired protege named Greg Jensen. Fresh out of college, Jensen was spotted by Dalio as his successor, soon becoming Bridgewater's co-chief investment officer. At a meeting Dalio missed, Jensen criticized one of his investment approaches. Previously, Jensen had never voiced disagreement to Dalio directly. Hearing the recording, Dalio deemed Jensen violated radical transparency by speaking behind his back and removed him as co-CIO. Next, we'll discuss talent selection and utilization, occupying the largest portion of Dalio's governance principles. The most unique aspect of Bridgewater's talent system is their recruitment and training process. Candidates find Bridgewater interviewers ask not only professional questions like how leverage works, but also whether the death penalty should be abolished. What's your relationship with your father like? These personal or value-based questions have no right answers. They assess candidates' genuine thinking patterns and inner selves. Beyond interviews, Bridgewater organizes candidates for group discussions. Interviewers sit back and observe which candidates can offer fresh perspectives, who proactively builds comprehensive frameworks to enhance discussion logic, which ones approach problems with thorough consideration, who can engage others through questioning and drive the entire process forward. These interview questions and evaluation methods stem directly from Dalio's talent selection principles. Compared to professional skills, Dalio values alignment with his core values more. His ideal candidates must first share the boss's values. Second, possess distinct personalities while maintaining self-awareness. Third, demonstrate both abstract thinking abilities and market common sense. To find such people, Dalio created Bridgewater's complex assessment system, including proprietary baseball cards, credibility matrices, and diverse questionnaires. Bridgewater's HR expertly uses these tools to quantify candidate data into detailed records. Process data lets management instantly grasp new hires' traits, values, and expertise for tailored development. Dolly constantly reminds interviewers, don't seek flawless people from resumes. Tolerate imperfections and spot potential candidates during live interactions. Toward Dalio's strict standards, new hires undergo 18 months of training before joining Bridgewater. Despite rigorous screening, a quarter still quit during training due to intense cognitive demands, unable to adapt to Bridgewater's radical truth and transparency culture. After meticulous selection and grueling training, survivors become brilliant, distinctive, value-aligned individuals who stay committed long-term. In Bridgewater's 43-year history, nearly all CIOs except John Rubinstein, poached from Apple in 2017, were homegrown by Dalio. Dalio's elite team consistently identifies overlooked problems, proposing one groundbreaking investment strategy after another that shock the industry, all proving the success of Dalio's talent selection principles. Finally, let's talk about decision-making models. Dalio observed many companies' decision models and found they either have leaders making unilateral calls or use democratic consultation where management votes and majority rules. Dalio believes both approaches are flawed. Decision power shouldn't be monopolized by capable folks, nor should it ignore differences in ability or opinion credibility. The investment industry, especially hedge funds, is a super specialized, knowledge heavy field. In this biz, the value of each opinion totally varies. Factors like the speaker's talent, experience, expertise, and even character, whether honest and sincere, can mess with opinion credibility. So, when deciding, gotta give more weight to high credibility opinions, not just blindly go with majority rule. That's Dalio's principle of idea meritocracy based on credibility weighting. Let's take a simple example. Say a proposal gets voted on by 5 people, 3 for, and 2 against. If following majority rule with 3 for, the proposal passes. But the 2 voting against might have way higher credibility, then under credibility weighted idea meritocracy, their opinions carry more weight, like one of their votes counts as 2. So now the opposition has 4 votes and the proposal gets rejected. Dalio believes the most credible opinions come from 2 types: folks who've repeatedly solved similar problems and those who can figure out cause-effect relationships through logical reasoning. At Bridgewater, everyone's opinion credibility is recorded in a special program called the dot collector. During meetings, they vote on decisions using the dot collector app. People with more points on the dot collector have votes that weigh heavier, hugely impacting company decisions. Dolly deeply respects this credibility-weighted idea meritocracy system. He claims in his book that over 40 years at Bridgewater, when credibility-weighted votes clashed with his own judgment, he always went with the vote results, never betraying the idea meritocracy principle. That concludes the final section on corporate governance principles. From the book, Principles, we've primarily covered Bridgewater's radically truthful or transparent culture, distinctive talent management, and idea meritocracy decision-making, all shaped under Dalio's principles. Dalio once said the most important lesson from his life is discovering truth through principles and acting accordingly. For 40 years, he persisted this way and achieved tremendous success. He attributes all these gains to principles. He believes that by absorbing these principles and evolving, his success isn't far from yours. All right, this concludes our interpretation of principles. Keynotes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.